Okay, so we are going to get started sitting cross-legged on your mat. So any cross-legged seat that feels the most comfortable for you, grounding nicely through the sitting bones. And then just allow the hands to rest on the backs of the knees. Big shoulder roll up, back and down. And then gently closing the eyes. And we'll just take our first few moments to settle into this class, this training. And just taking a moment to notice how your body feels today. You may want to draw awareness from the crown of the head all the way down to the sitting bones, down to the toes. Almost a full body scan, noticing and observing how you have arrived on your mat. And as I mentioned, this is your practice. And although I'm here to guide you through it, no one knows your body better than you do. So if at any time you need to take a rest pose, do what works best for you. And then join your awareness to your breath. Slow inhalations and exhalations through the nose. And see if you can slow that breath down just a little bit more. So at the top of your inhale, you may see if you can breathe in a little more. And at the exhale, breathe out a little more. Just creating space, full expansive breaths. We've got another 5 deep breaths here. Two more. You can keep your eyes closed and allow this breath to remain still and steady. Just turn your palms facing down so your hands rest over the kneecaps. We'll move through a seated cat and cow. So you can choose to open your eyes if you need a visual, otherwise just moving quite intuitively. As you inhale, draw the shoulder blades towards one another, open the chest, maybe pull the chest slightly forward as you lift the chin slightly into a seated cow shape. And as you exhale, roll back over the sitting bones, really round through the spine, straighten the arms, feel a nice stretch in the upper back. And we flow with our breath. So as you inhale, you rise up into a seated cow. And exhale to round. So starting to connect body and breath. Follow the rhythm of your breathing pattern. When the next inhale comes, you'll rise up, find a slight opening into the chest. And exhale, round. Continue a few more rounds in your own time. Warming up into the spine. Connecting that body and breath movement and breath. Two more. And on your next rounding, you'll just come back up into seated, sitting up nice and tall. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Gently bring the chin to the chest and just open the eyes gently so you're gazing down on the floor in front of you. Your eyes are closed, just get used to the lighting. Nice. And then we'll roll slightly back, just bringing your feet onto the floor. Feet are about hip width apart. So you'll stay seated as you are, hands will become behind the knees, just sitting up nice and tall, find length into your spine. And then we'll bring both hands behind the right knee and we'll start with a gentle straightening of this right leg. So you'll kind of lean back slightly, lift that right foot, and then just start a gentle bend and straighten. So the class we'll be doing today is going to work through a warrior 3. So we'll be warming up the body progressively so that we can prepare the muscles we need for the shapes that we'll be creating. And so just easing into the back of the leg, the hamstrings. Start to notice how your leg feels today. Do one more on the side, straighten out. Bend into that knee, keep a hold of the knee, and then slowly start to roll back. If you're somewhat at the back of your mat, do a little shuffle. And then gently roll down one vertebra at a time. Your left foot will stay as is. Your right knee will come into the chest, grabbing behind the hamstring or behind the knee. And you'll do the same thing of just bending and straightening. Notice what it feels like lying down. Maybe it feels a little differently than seated. You can see how straight you can get your leg, bend it again. So we'll start nice and gently. Do 2 more rounds here. On your last round, when you lift that foot up, just give a nice few rolls into the ankles. Maybe get a nice click. Changing directions. Flex and point the foot. We'll be balancing on our leg later, so it's quite nice to be in a bit of a different position. Rebend that right knee. Kick that leg away from you and allow it to lift you back up into seated, and we'll swap it out. So the right foot goes down, we'll interlace fingers behind the leg. Give a slight little bend and straighten. So this is nice when we check in that it may feel differently on this side. One leg definitely feels different than the other, and that's fine. That's normal. And so we're working towards straight. It's not quite straight there yet, that's fine. We're working in that direction. We have 2 more rounds. And then holding behind that knee, round to the back. So you're going to lean back and kind of move nice and slowly onto your back and find that same little bend and straighten. Good. Notice how it feels on this side, lying on your back. Checking in with the hamstrings. We'll be giving them a lot of attention today. Nice, do 2 more rounds. When you end on that last one, you'll have that leg up, still supporting it. And give nice rotations into the ankle. Nice clicks in the studio. And point and flex the toes or the foot. You may even feel a little bit into the calf when you flex your foot. Bend into that knee. We'll stay lying on the back, bring both knees into the chest. Find a gentle rock from side to side. And this is where we'll have our strap strap handy, so keep your right knee into your chest. Just place your left foot back onto the mat. That foot will be, or that knee will be a bit bent. Grab your strap, and we're going to move into a supine hamstring stretch. So for those who don't have straps, you've got option to just extend that right leg up, and then just hold behind the calf, the ankle, maybe even behind the hamstring. If you do have a strap, it's really nice as an extension of the arms. We'll loop the strap over the ball of the foot. Okay, so not the sole, it's almost over the ball. Good. And then allow each hand to grab onto the tail end of the strap. And then allow the arms to just relax down the strap. So I'm not holding too far up. Kind of dragging down, allowing the shoulders to really relax down. Flex into that right foot. Feel that there's almost like a rebound into the strap. Good. Okay. So you're checking in with your hamstrings here. If you're happy, then you can stay. Or maybe slide your left leg to straighten out. Nice. And then keep the left foot also nice and active. And so our first stronger hamstring stretch of the day, you're just starting to feel into the back of that leg, really lengthening all the way down from the calf, the hamstring. We'll take another 5 breaths, keeping that breath still slow and steady. And anytime you know you can still step that left foot back onto the mat, notice how it feels different. What does it feel like to have that foot planted? What does it feel like to have it straight? And then choose the variation that feels best for you this morning. Two more breaths. Slowly bend into that knee, release the strap. So you can keep the strap in the hands, actually, you don't have to really release it. But you can unhook it from that foot, hug that knee into the chest, give a nice little massage from side to side. And then placing the right foot down to the mat, we'll swap it out. So our left foot will come, or left knee into the chest, and then hooking the strap over the ball of the left foot, straightening that left leg up. Nice, strong, active leg, flexing into the foot. And this side, as we've established, may feel completely different. So both are the same motions of keeping that right knee bent or straightening it out. And so we're using the strap with a bit of assistance. So it's a bit more of a passive stretch than if we were holding it there without the strap. Taking another 5 breaths here. And on your next exhale, find a gentle bend into that left knee. Release the strap out to the side. We're done with that for now. Nice. And then having both knees into the chest once again, little rock. Good. Place or let's keep our right knee to the chest. Extend your left leg straight this time. So left heel will be on the floor, nice strong active leg. Imagine you're kicking the heel into the floor and then pulling the toes back towards you. Start to straighten your right leg up towards the ceiling, flex the foot, and then see if you can rest the hands along the side of the body. So you're moving more into an active shape. Good. So you're really pulling the toes towards you. Nice. Good. So kind of doing a warrior 3 on our back. A little bit nicer than standing. So both feet are flexed. The hips are kind of square, one leaning towards you, one kicking away. And then with the arms along the side of the body, sweep them up and over, extending the arms in line with the ears, palms facing towards one another. Good. Now, if that top leg doesn't go completely straight, that's fine. If it doesn't go completely above the hip, that's also fine. Just working for a strong, active leg. Nice. Now, reach into the arms, kick into that left heel. See if you can hover that left foot just off the mat. Yeah, a bit of abdominal work. We'll take an inhale here. As you exhale, switch through the left leg up, right leg hovers. Take an inhale. Exhale to switch. Inhale. Exhale, switch. Beautiful. Two more. Inhale. Exhale, switch. Inhale. Exhale, switch. You should have your left leg at the top. Right foot kick away from you. Reach through the arm for a nice and tall, strong, active leg. And then let your right foot land. Keep that left leg where it is. And then just find your lying down warrior three shape here. Nice. One more full breath in. And then exhale, sweep the hands all the way down, hug both knees into the chest, gentle rock from side to side. So we start to see how this shape looks of warrior three in different positions, just so we can start planting the seed of what we may be feeling when we come to the pose later on. So you're lying on your back, grab behind your knees, do a few rolls up and down the spine. If you prefer to move through a sideline, you can do that. Gaining a little bit of momentum, and we'll cross over the ankles, moving into all fours. Yeah, so you can either cross over the cross-legged position, or move the legs over onto one side, coming onto your hands and your knees. So with your hands and knees position, check that your hands are underneath the shoulders, spread the fingers nice and wide, and then grip down with the fingertips into the mat. Really push the mat away from you, and then have a look back. Your knees are hip width apart, and your feet should just be hiding behind your thighs. So we've already done a few cat and cows, so we'll go straight into our flow. Sending your right leg back behind you, flex into that right foot, and then really squeeze through the glutes to get that heel in line with the hip. Good. The toes are pointing down, so we're still squaring the hips to the floor. So you can stay here. Otherwise, we'll keep grounding through our right hand. Extend your left arm forward. Find your balance. Keep pushing through all four corners of that right hand, so gripping through the fingertips. Take an inhale. As you exhale, we'll round. Bring the elbow to tap the knee underneath. Nice. Inhale to extend. Kick through that right heel, nice active leg. Exhale to round. Inhale to extend. Last time, exhale to round. Inhale to extend. Keep that right leg where it is. Place that left hand down. Look forward in front of you. So in yoga, we have a drishti, which is a focus point. So look forward, take an inhale. As you exhale, round your knee into your chest. Step between the hands. What helps to move your right hand out the way. That helps a lot, right? Place the hands to each side of that right foot. Knee stacked above the ankle into a low lunge. Sometimes it helps to slide that left knee a little bit further back. And then cupping onto the fingertips so we can find a little bit of a length into the chest. Nice. So if you feel that you need to adjust that bottom foot, you can. We'll take an inhale here. As you exhale, send the hips back, begin to straighten that right leg into a half split. So right leg moves towards straight, flexing the toes towards you, chest stays slightly lifted. And then check that we're not bumping the hips over to one side. Can we keep the hips somewhat square, even distribution? We flow between them, so the hands will move. We'll take an inhale into a low lunge. Exhale, half splits. Inhale into a low lunge. Exhale, half splits. Good. Let's do one more. Inhale, low lunge. As you exhale into your half splits, hold there for a few breaths. So you can choose to bring the hands slightly closer to use the support you need. Really flex that right foot, so keep it nice active going here. And let's walk our hands forward into a low lunge. Sending that right leg back behind you. Once again, you can move that right hand out the way. Right leg, active foot, squeeze the heel behind you. And then placing that knee back down. Good. So you might want to re-establish your nice little all forward shape, spread the fingers nice and wide, and we'll swap it up. So our left leg goes back behind us. Nice active leg, toes are pointing down. Good. Keep a slight push into the hands, so nice and strong arms. Extend your right arm forward in front of you. Find your gaze or your drishti down on the mat. Take an inhale. Move nice and slowly as you exhale, round elbow comes to the knee. Inhale to extend. Exhale to round. Inhale, extend. Exhale to round. Last time to extend, place that right hand down, look for it. Step left foot in between hands. So low lunge, maybe you slide that back knee back a little bit. Toes can stay tucked or back of the foot, whatever works for you. Left knee above the ankle. Just find a slight broaden or opening into the collarbones looking forward. Good. So stepping your left foot forward there, Angela. Good, nice. Take an inhale. And then slowly walk back, half splits, left toes lift up. Good, check what's happening into the hips, moving somewhat over to the side so you can keep it in the center. And we flow into it. So inhale brings you forward. Exhale, half splits. Really working into the backs of the legs. Inhale brings you forward. Exhale back. Inhale forward into a low lunge. The last round, we'll spend a few breaths in our half splits. So fingertips can walk nice and back, flex into the foot. Maybe pull that left hip back, slightly squaring out. And then re-bend into your left knee, planting the hands. Left leg goes back behind you, nice, strong, active leg. Kick through that heel. And then place that knee back down. Bring your knees wide to the edge of the mat, get the toes to touch. Send the hips back into a child's pose. Arms can stay extended out in front of you. A little bend into the elbows as you rest the forehead down. Take a little breather, connect back to your breath. Take 2 more breaths. Rising back up onto your hands and your knees. Take a pause, so really looking to kind of analyze the postures as we get there. So with the hands just underneath the shoulders, step your right foot back onto the toes, okay? So this is the length for our plank pose. It's quite a nice way to get into it. We're going to step that left foot back so that we have shoulders still over the wrists and the heels kicking back behind you. Good. So if your hips are high, find a way that your shoulders, hips are somewhat in line. Now don't change the position of your feet. Simply lift the hips up into a downward facing dog. So this may feel a little bit longer than what you're used to. Try to resist the urge to step the feet in. Good. Now you can check if the hands in front of you, the hands shoulder width apart, or they're still spreading wide. Are your feet hip width apart? Maybe you're still adjusting. And then really prioritize getting the hips high. So it's a nice little exercise to bend the knees slightly, send the hips up high towards the ceiling. Find that length along the spine and then maybe begin to draw the heels down. Start to notice if that feels different. And I see we've got a few walking of the feet going, so go for it. First downward dog of the day, pedal out into the feet. Notice how the hamstrings feel in this shape. And then settling into your downward facing dog. Bend into your knees, look forward. You can take a walk, a step, or a hop to the top of your mat. We'll meet in a forward fold. So bend into your knees as much as you need to get the fingertips to the outside of the feet. Bring the chin into the chest. Really round into the back. Hands come onto the shins, halfway lift. Bring the shoulder blades together, so slight pulling back. Head in line with the hips. Exhale, fold forward. Rising up all the way, arms come around and up into a high mountain pose. And exhale, hands along the side of the body. Let's take one full breath in here. And exhale. We flow that back. So inhale, arms extend up. Exhale, arms come down to the side. Lean forward with the chest. All the way slowly to a forward fold. Bring your hands onto your shins. Halfway lift. And then plant the hands. Step the feet back into a plank pose. Good. Now keep that position of your plank. Lift your hips, downward facing dog. Resist the urge to move your hands or your feet. Just try it out. From your downward facing dog, we'll lift our right leg up into a three-legged dog. So keep your hips square, meaning the right toes will point down. Really squeeze that heel up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, round the knee into the chest. So similar to what you did kneeling, but now in a plank pose, squeeze the knee in. Good. Inhale, right leg rises up. Exhale, squeeze knee into chest. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, knee comes into the chest. Last time, right leg up. Exhale, step the foot in between the hand. Once again, move that hand out the way. If it doesn't quite get there, give it some help. Fingertips to each side of that right foot. Once again, knees stacked above the ankle. Squeeze the legs towards one another so you can push into the heels. Rise up into a high crescent lunge. Nice strong bend in that right knee, arms extending up. Also kind of that warrior three shape. And take a few breaths here in your high lunge. Active through the fingertips. Yes. Take an inhale. As you exhale, simply straighten through that right leg. Stay on the ball of the back foot. Do a bit of an active pyramid pose. So we'll keep the arms in line with the ears. Start to lean forward slowly, bringing our fingertips down towards the floor. The knee bends, let it bend. Let your hands relax down to the floor. Nice. Now when your hands get down to the floor, there's a little bend to the knee, that's fine. Now bend back into a low lunge. Knee comes over ankle. We're moving between those shapes once again. Straighten the right leg into a pyramid pose. Inhale, low lunge. Good. Exhale into a pyramid. One more into a low lunge, knee over ankle. Last time into your pyramid, just hold it there for a few breaths. Feel how the hamstring stretches are getting a little bit more progressive. The hands don't reach the floor, you can place the hands on the shin or just bend into the knee slightly. Two different variations you can work with. We'll play around with it. Bend into that right knee, plant the hands, right leg goes back up behind us into a three-legged dog. Nice, strong, active leg behind us, toes pointing down. And then step downward face. Good. Take a nice full inhale through the nose. Maybe sigh it out. Good. Over onto the other side. On your next inhale, your left leg rises up. So three-legged dog, left toes pointing down. Take an inhale. As you exhale, knee comes into the chest. Nice. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, strong, active leg. Keep that leg square, toes down. Last time, rounding into the chest, really push the hands away. And the last time, we extend that left leg up, getting ready to step, foot in between the hands. Take your time, help it there. Take a moment to pause when you have the foot in between the hands, knee above the ankle, okay? So with the support of the inner thighs, we kind of ground, we root from the ground up. So squeeze heels together, lift up, high lunge. Now when you get there, you may need to adjust, settle into your shape. Nice strong bend to the left knee, get it over the ankle. Strong arms reaching up. Good. Take an inhale as you straighten that left leg. Do the same active pyramid on the side. Reach the arms all the way forward. Slowly, slowly, slowly. It's hard, I know. Let the fingertips land on the mat into your pyramid. Bend into the knee a little bit if you need. You can also have the hands on the shins, but because we'll be flowing between them, it's actually nice to have a little bend into the knee to allow for that flow. Good. Bend into the left knee into a low lunge, knee stacks above the ankle. And we alternate between them. The exhale is a pyramid. Your hands can walk back with you if you would like. Inhale into a low lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Last time, inhale into it. As you come into your pyramid, hold there for another 3 breaths or so. Now really feel that you're pulling that left hip back, right hip forward, just like we did earlier in the half split. So our hips are still squared, facing forward, parallel to the top edge of the mat. Take a nice full in-breath here. Exhale, re-bend into that left knee. Plant your hands, left leg goes up and back into a 3-legged dog. And then plant that left foot down. Take a few moments in your downward dog. Just take 2 breaths. Then look towards the top of your mat. You can walk or step to the top. Bring your hands onto your shins. Find a nice halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Bend into your knees if you need to. Sweeping the arms all the way up. And then into your mountain pose. Arms along the side of the body. Take a few breaths here. Close your eyes. And nice grounding through your feet. Connecting back to a standing position. Maybe it's nice to do a nice sigh out through the mouth. It also feels good. You're going to flow back to a downward dog. So as you inhale, extend your arms up to a high mountain. Now this time we'll take a slow forward fold, just like we did in our pyramid. Find a little bend into the knees, reach forward, arms stay in line with the ears. You might come through like a little tabletop position, and then slowly release the hands all the way down onto the floor. Beautiful. Take hands to shins, halfway lift. Hands onto your mat, step back into your plank. And then a big push into downward facing dog. No chaturangas today. Interesting. It was intentional. Good. So we build onto our flow a little bit more. So send your right leg up into a 3-legged dog. No need to noses this time. Just step in between the hands. Do the same process to get knee over ankle. Rise up, high lunge. We change up the pyramid. So stay in your high lunge, really lift up and out. So find the strength in the pose, good. Send the arms back behind you. Palms are still face forward. Begin to straighten the leg. We lean forward into a pyramid with airplane arms. Okay, so you start to find your chest in line, kind of like a tabletop shape. We move between that, so you'll bend through the knees, arms extend up. Kind of like we're imagining taking off into our warrior 3. Exhale, sweep the arms back, active pyramid with airplane arms. So straight right there. Bend into your knees. It's a bit of a wobble. It's a tricky one. exhale, last time. Active pyramid, sweep your arms back. Really feel how this is different for the hamstrings when we're not holding onto the floor. Good. Inhale, bend to the knee, arm sweep up. So we do that same motion, but we move into a warrior three with eagle arm, not eagle, airplane. Start to lean into that right leg, little bend to the knee. Sweep the arms back. Find a little pause for a moment in your warrior three balance. Really kick back into that leg, nice, strong, active leg. Keep your leg where it is. Release the hands down onto the floor into a standing split. The bottom leg bends, let it. Now, because we're doing a warrior three, really flex that left foot, turn the toes down, square the hips. The leg won't go as high, that's fine. Okay. So you've got right leg down, both hands down. Nice. Now bring that left knee behind the right into a little curtsy squat. You've got to bend that right knee. Good, nice. And then left leg goes up. Two more like that. Left knee behind the right, little curtsy. Left leg up. Last time, curtsy squat, really working that standing leg. Lift the left leg up and step it all the way far back, the back of the mat. And then turn towards the left side into kind of a straddle shape. So your feet are wide, feet are parallel. Good, so toes and heels align. So you kind of look like that. Take a moment to breathe there. Good. Can you guys hear me online? Nice. Take a nice full inhale. And as you exhale, walk your hands over towards your left leg. So you're in a lunge. So left knee should stack over the ankle. Take an inhale. Exhale, pyramid. Good, yes, so left leg is in front. Even if you're facing away from the camera, see if we can follow the instructions to get there. Bend into your left knee, rise up into your high lunge again. Nice. Now you're going to bring your right knee into your chest, into a one-legged Tadasana. I'm flipping the online people into a different space. Good, so you've got your left leg in front. You're going to bring that right leg forward. I wish you guys could see. And hug the knee into your chest. It's a bit of a tricky transition, so we're all nice and cozy here together. Okay, this is going to be fun. It's going to be playful. It's going to be a bit tricky, but we can do it. Okay, straighten out your right leg. You're doing a pistol type squat to seated. Your right leg will straighten. Bend your standing leg. Use your hands. That's why they're there to help you. And you're going to see if you can come to sit down on the mat. Beautiful. Love it. Okay, so you should have your left knee into your chest and then fold it forward over the straight leg. So that knee will just kind of move out to the side. Shouldn't feel as strong in the hamstrings, but something a little bit different. Moving our bodies in new ways. Good. Rising back up. Another little tricky transition. Your left knee is into your chest. You guys are going to look. Right hand will go behind you onto the floor, and you're just going to lift up your hips into a little side plank, spin your way over, and magically you're back in a downward facing dog, facing the front of the mat. Good. Have we got you, Angela? Or Angela's frozen? Or she's hanging out in her forward fold. That's fine. Good. Yeah, the tricky thing. Okay, so we're back in a downward facing dog. Well done, guys. We're just going to do that on the other side. It'll be a bit more familiar. And as we continue to do it, the body gets used to it. So we have our left leg that lifts up into a three-legged dog. Step your left foot in between the hands. Adjust, knee over ankle, rising up into your high lunge. Good. Straighten your left leg, sweep the arms back. So the thumbs are facing away from you, so I still get that opening into the chest, squeezing shoulder blades together, lean forward about halfway. The knee bends, let it bend, kind of working with your body. And we flow, bend into the knee, arms sweep up. Exhale, airplane, pyramid pose. Inhale up. Last time, exhale, pyramid. Inhale to come up, bend into that knee, so we launch into an airplane pose essentially. Lean into that left leg. Find your drishti, your spot on the floor. Left leg stays grounded. Right leg lifts. Squeeze your arms back just for a moment to place your hands all the way down on the floor. Notice it becomes easier with the hands grounded. Maybe, maybe not. Good. Right leg lifts nice and high. Big step back with your right leg all the way to the back of the mat. Walk over to your right side into a straddle. Stretching both hamstrings in our forward fold. Walking over towards your right foot, just into a low lunge. So your right knee is over your ankle. Good. Spinning that back heel up. Beautiful. And then send your into a pyramid pose. So Nigar, keep your right foot down and then straighten your left. Sorry, so I meant to say your back heel's not grounded, just on the back toes. So you're in a pyramid pose. Nice. Now rebend into that right knee, rise up into a high lunge, and then use a little bit of momentum to bring your left knee into your chest, into a one-legged mountain pose. You can hug that knee in. So when we're balancing, we find a steady spot on the floor, find your drishti, find your focus. Okay, this is the fun bit. We can do it now. We straighten our left leg out as much as we can. Slowly bend into your standing leg. A lot of slow, controlled strength. Your heel can lift, makes it harder. And we slowly come down to seated. Hug your right knee into your chest. So you're still facing the back of your mat. Left foot is flexed. You're folding over your left leg. Kind of reminds us to still be a bit playful, still have some fun. Beautiful. Slowly rising back up. Your left hand will go back behind you. You'll push into your heel and your foot. So you'll find kind of like a little reverse tabletop-y thing. Spin your way over into a downward facing dog. Nice. Drop your knees wide, toes to touch. Take a well-deserved child's pose. Arms can stay extended out in front of you, or they can just be along the side. Well done. Take a few deep breaths. Good. And we'll rise back up onto all fours. Take it nice and slow. Let's move through that same transition. It'll help us for later. Left leg back, right leg back. Plank. Push into the hands. Lift the hips. Find nice downward facing dog shape. And we'll walk or step or jump to the top of the mat. Forward fold and then bring your hands to your shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Rising up all the way into high mountain, arms extend up. And hands along the side of the body. Okay. So the body's nice and warm. We've got our last flow through all variations of Warrior 3. You can see how the body feels through the different transitions, okay? Just have fun. So we'll start with the tree pose. So stay standing on your left leg. Bring your right foot in onto your inner thigh, okay? If you can't get up there, you place the right foot over your calf. Good. Let's extend the arms up. Now, find a steady spot on the floor. Find your drishti, find your focus. Bring your hands through to heart center. Our hands will stay here in the chest. We'll slowly release that right leg. Pendulum it back behind us into a Warrior 3 with the hands at heart center. Strong, active back leg. Keep your focus, find your gaze. Bend your standing leg. Step that right foot far towards the back of the mat. High lunge, arms extend up. So we can enter Warrior 3 from standing or from the second way we're going to do now. Okay, so you're in a high lunge. Good. Sweep your arms back. And just like we did earlier, let's do Warrior 3 with airplane. So lean forward, keep that knee bent, just to start. Launch into a bent leg. Active right leg lifts. Look forward, find your gaze. Now really squeeze the shoulder blades back, find a lift into your chest. Nice, beautiful. Step that right foot far back. Hands come down to the floor. Find a downward facing dog. Good, balance is not tricky. So we take it easy. Nice, we've got one more warrior three before the second side. We're gonna do a full warrior three. Okay. So right leg lifts up into a three-legged dog. Good. Step your right foot in between your hands into a lunge. Arms are in line with your ears. Okay, so we know the two variations. You can always move hands to heart center if it feels like it gets too much, but let's give it a whirl. So arms will stay nice and active. Keep that bend into the knee, it really helps. So you'll lean forward, become light on the back foot. Right knee still bent, arms reach, kicking through that back heel. Find your drishti focus, all the work we've been doing. Nice, toes pointing down, and then put your left leg into a tree pose. So left heel onto your right inner thigh. If you need to do a few steps in between, get there. And then settle in tree, hands at heart center. Good, check in with that heart rate, with that breath rate. You can always have your foot down here. It's a strong class. We go through that same flow on the left leg. We kind of know where we're going. Hands stay at this chest. Unhook that left leg, straighten it up, pendulum it back. Keep that foot flexed nice and strong and active. Bending a little bit into that standing leg if you need. The toes point down so that when we bend our standing leg, you land into a lunge. Arms extend up. Flowing straight into your aeroplane. So arms will sweep back. Lean into that leg. Kind of use it as a bit of a like jumping board. Come forward, arms back, left foot nice and strong. Keep that same focus. Take a breath in. Step left foot back, hands down, downward dog. Beautiful, guys. Take a nice full inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh through the mouth. Last warrior three. Left leg goes nice and high. Into three. Step it in between the hands. High lunge, knee over ankle, arms extended. Good. So arms stay in line with the ears. Take it slow, find your steady gaze point. Look forward, launch into that left leg. Kick that right heel back behind you. Toes pointing down, arms reaching forward, leg kicking back. Beautiful, one more breath in. And then just stand right foot next to the left. Breathe if you are holding your breath that whole time. Close your eyes for a moment. Well done. Just notice and check in with your body. We'll slowly start to wind down. So keep your toes touching, slight gaps in the heels. Moving into a chair pose, not for long. Bend into your knees, sweep your arms up. Then you can kind of keep your toes together. As you sink down, let your heels lift and your knees come wide. So you're moving into kind of a Malasana variation. Hands can go behind you. And you'll sit back down into a butterfly pose. Soles of the feet together. Hands onto the ankles. Find a nice lift into your chest. And then exhale, round and relax. So resist the urge to pull on the legs. Slowly, nice and gentle. We're winding down, easing into our relaxation. Slowly coming back up. Going to keep your right leg in the front, moving into a pigeon. So your right leg will move, or right foot will move slightly towards the center. Sitting on your right hip, send your left leg back behind you, and then use the support of your hands to kind of balance your weight between left and right. So if I have my hands out in front of me, my knee is wider than my wrist. So create a little bit of space. Nice, you guys are good. Tuck your left toe, slide that foot back, and then just walk the hands forward. You can stay propped up on the hands, move onto the elbows, or maybe relax down. And then place the top of that back foot on the mat. And the glutes have been working really hard. Beautiful guys online, that looks good. Glutes have been working really hard in all those standing balances. So this is a wonderful way to stretch through the glutes, maybe a little bit through the inner thigh too. And I guess the back leg, kind of working a lot. Take 3 more breaths. You'll use the support of your hands to bring yourself up. Sitting over onto that right hip, swing the left leg around into your butterfly once again. Soles of the feet together. And just take a moment, just 2 breaths to round and relax. We get all kinds of wildlife in here. Got a, I don't know, a waspy, bumblebee, dragonfly, sorry guys. Slowly rise up, support onto your left hip, swing your right leg around. It's a little bit of an adjust, so as you bring your body weight centered, you can adjust that knee, change the diagonal or the position of that left shin. Stay supported up on your hands, and then just check that you're nice and even between left and right side. And then you can choose to fold forward to the degree to which you feel. And we've got another 5 breaths. Yeah. This feels a little bit niggly on the knee or the hip. Simply come back to your butterfly pose. Take it easy on your body. We'll slowly come up. Bring that right leg around into your butterfly. Nice. And then hands will come behind the knees. You'll step the feet onto the mat. And we'll gently roll all the way back down. Keep your feet planted for now. So we'll move to lying. Feet will stay about hip-width apart, maybe wider. Let the arms take up space. And gently windshield wiper the legs from side to side. So you'll let both knees drop to the right. And then slow and controlled, both move to the left. Nice slow and steady transitions. Ease into this lying position. And then coming back through to center, straighten your right leg to the right corner of the mat. But I guess in your Shavasana shape. I like taking the legs nice and wide, but if it feels better for you to have the feet close together, that's totally fine. Arms nice and wide. You can have the hands along the side of the body. You can have the hands on the belly. Your Shavasana, your relaxation. Close the eyes. Let the body just sink into the mat. Feel a heaviness through the back line of the body. And just like we started the class, start from the top of the head, a body scan all the way down the back line of the body. All the way down to the calves, the heels, and the toes. And notice if there's a part of the body that can possibly soften a bit more. And as we soften through the body, allow the mind to follow. If thoughts arise, then simply acknowledge them, let them float by. Continuously connecting your awareness back to your body, back to your breath. Keeping the eyes closed, gently bring your awareness back to your surroundings. You can start with any sound, maybe any sensations between your body and the mat. Begin to invite small movements by rubbing the fingers and against the thumb, moving the toes, and stepping both feet onto the mat, taking your time to bring both knees into the chest. Find a gentle movement from side to side. And you'll take your time to roll over onto side lying. And then gently push through your hand. Keep your eyes closed as we rise up into a comfortable seat. Maybe take the opposite cross of the legs that you had at the start of the class. And gently bring your hands to the chest, touching palms, touching thumbs to the sternum. Gently bowing the head down. Taking a moment to send gratitude to yourself for setting aside this time, not just for the class, but for the 6-week training. Sending gratitude to each one of us who will be on this journey together. And gratitude from me to each and every one of you. You can seal off your practice in any way that you wish. Keep bowing the head down. Blinking open the eyes. Ready. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take your time. We've got a 20-minute tea break. If you want to stay in your Shavasana, you can do that too. For those online too, 20 minutes, get some tea, water, whatever you need to do. We'll join back at 20 to 12 for feedback and poses. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to walk with you guys to the tea room, just so I can show you guys how it works. Everyone online, are we good? Was the sound fine? Was it good? Okay, so let's quickly chat about the class. Everyone online, how it's going to work is just unmute yourself and then just talk, because it'll be like that in the studio. So the dynamic will be fine. So you can even keep yourself unmuted unless there's particular noise in the background. And just unmute yourself, say, Karen, I have something to ask or something to say, and it'll just be like you're in the space. So you can't see everyone here, but they're all sitting in like a little circle. So you guys are actually pretty much part of the circle too, which is nice. So just kind of imagine in a group. And as we move through the poses, I might just turn the laptop and see how that works, and we'll just try and navigate this as we go through the course. Okay. Cool. So, cool. Welcome back, Veronica. If you can try to turn on, it's helpful when we do the poses. We're going to just go around and adjust and practice and maybe have any cues. So if you want to spend some time figuring that out, I know technology is hectic, so take your time.
It's fun, thanks.
Cool. All right, any feedback from the class? Anyone wants to share how it felt, what it was like, anything particularly that you noticed?
Shaky legs. Yeah, I was amazing.
Shaky legs, okay. So strong leg practice. Balancing is quite strong, yeah. I think there was a general agreement here in the studio. It was like shaky legs, okay. Felt a little bit wobbly at times, but that's fine. Cool. Anything else? Yeah, a lot of glute work, standing, balancing legs. So it's a strong flow. It was quite a strength one, particularly with the legs. For you guys online, I know we're still figuring out the change of direction and moving around, but you managed fine. What was it?
Oh yeah, I was moving around so much. I didn't know what I'm doing. Like, how should I stand? Are you seeing everything that I'm doing? Is it appearing well? So.
Fine. So yes, firstly, like I said, we're moving through. We're going to be introducing quite many different transitions you haven't done before. The first time you do anything, it feels a bit odd. I know it's a different dynamic because you guys are also relying on the screen that's there. And so sometimes you look and you go, wait, hold on, which leg am I turning to? So that is a bit of a tricky thing. But the good news is, I guess, good or bad, depending on how you feel, we're going to do the sequence again next week. And just see what it's like when we're familiarized with the sequence, when we do it the second time, when we know what we're doing and we know a bit more about the postures, notice how it feels differently as we continue to move through the training. So it is something that will grow with time. And I guess just like any class, we also have those moments where we go, okay, hold on, I don't know what, figuring it out. But that's essentially how we build our body awareness, and it's through repetition that we end up coming back to it. So if you felt like you were doing it fine, everyone looked like they were on the right track. So everyone was pretty good. So thanks so much for that, Loretta. Anyone else?
Okay. I found your voice cues really good, so I didn't have to look at the screen so much. But then at some point, I lost Wi-Fi connection, so I was completely lost, but managed to jump back in. But otherwise, yeah, really, really nice. I noticed a big difference between my right side and left side. I can't remember which side was which, but I noticed a big difference. So I'm curious to see when we do it again, how I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So first thing is, I'll be quite particular about cueing that I give, because that's also things to take note of. Not so much that, I mean, when we're in the practice, we don't always, I mean, there's not a lot of pressure right now, especially with today and tomorrow, to take note of every cue and make notes. It comes with time, but we are really focusing on, can we make the cues as direct as possible so that the students know what they need to do. Essentially, when you start teaching students, they need to know where to put what, why, how, for how long, where am I going next. So it's really direct cues, focusing on about 2 to 3. In this class, I gave a bit more cues that were more in terms of like alignment-y things, because that's how we are going to work through the poses now. So it kind of leads us into more of a training sense where we do offer a bit more information that you might not offer in a class. We'll talk about that as the course goes on. But yeah, especially with online, the clearer you can make the cues. I would also in a normal class sense, I would try to not demonstrate it all, because if my cues were clear enough, I wouldn't have to rely on my own body. Every now and then you do need to, because students won't catch your cue, or maybe they don't understand it, which is fine in your demo. But if we can make our cues good enough, then it means that when teaching, I can rather observing, watching the students, making sure that you know, we're just kind of navigating the room, which is one of the benefits, which is a big thing we're focusing on teaching. So, and yeah, we did see when you paused in this one, I was like, Angela, we're moving to the down dog. And I was like, I don't know if she's paused or she's just hanging on.
I fell asleep.
In terms of the sequencing, is there anything you guys noticed that maybe you've done before, or maybe in terms of what yoga you practiced before, if there's anything you noticed at all?
Going all the way freeze standing.
Mhm.
Before that was like, whoa.
Moving backwards or moving forward?
Forward.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was cool.
Yes. Sometimes moving forward is a bit more challenging than moving back. It depends on you, you can figure it out. But we use a lot of different variations, a lot of different use of the arms, sometimes arms up overhead, which is the full expression of Warrior 3, which tends to get harder. Hands at heart center is a bit of an easier version, arms back, easier. So we did quite a lot of grading. Did you feel that by the time we got to the pose, your body was warmed up? Did you feel prepared for it? Good. That's good news. So that's essentially the style of yoga that we teach in terms of peak pose sequencing, progressively working towards a pose. Sorry for you guys in the studio, if you want to grab a block or a bolster, please feel free to get comfortable. You're welcome to. So in terms of preparing the body progressively, working with what are the requirements of Warrior 3? What do I need to work on? Okay, we spoke about, yes, I need to stretch my hamstrings. I need to bring in some balance. There's quite a lot of strong leg work in the standing leg. How can I introduce those concepts throughout the class and work progressively? So from easiest, warming up, making it more challenging towards kind of the peak of the class so that the body's prepared, but it also makes you feel like, I've been here before. It doesn't feel like, well, Warrior 3, what? We've worked in all the components, we understand the pose, we work towards it. So that's kind of the type of sequencing we do, but it also helps us really build a strong understanding of what is required in terms of just the physical posture and how we can empower our students to get there. So yeah, quite a nice, strong class. But any other notes on the class as such?
The fun element with the sitting down.
The fun, the pistol squat. So I know Catherine led you through, and this is kind of just to plant the seed because it's nice for you to know where this all falls into the greater scope of things. These classes that we'll be doing a forward bend class, which is Warrior 3. Tomorrow we'll do a back bend and an arm balance class. Each one of them has that fun little transition in each of them. But essentially we'll be doing these sequences quite a lot. We'll be breaking down the poses, and towards the end of the course, you guys will be teaching one of these three. Okay, so they'll be familiar to you. They won't be, you know, completely unknown. All right. So don't spend too much time in the classes watching and figuring out how we're going to teach this. It's actually just getting into the muscle memory of things. When you learn something in your body, it is easier to teach it because you've been there. You know what it feels like. So that will be your one teaching practical assignment. So that's why we're practicing these classes. We're working through the poses now, which will be for our pose reviews, where we look at the actual shapes of them. And then you've got your sequencing, which you'll do with Catherine. Okay, so we kind of just see how this all fits together, all the little puzzle pieces. It's going to be a lot of information today and tomorrow, but if it doesn't settle, sometimes you need to like go home and just let it steep and let it all sink in. We do a lot of repetition, and during the week you can always hop onto the website, do this class again. It's on, you don't have to, I'm just saying if you wanted to. You can watch them on the Wellness Connection website under the peak pose sequencing section. There's forward bend class 1 and 2. It is in your overview, so that's fine. But it won't be me teaching it, it's Laura. So you'll meet Laura, she's currently on maternity leave, okay? So you'll see the other third of Wellness Connection. Okay, anything else? All good online? Nice, okay. We're gonna get into our poses. So how it's going to work, I'm just grabbing my tea. So how it's going to work is we're going to work with a manual. So manual on page 43, and we're going to go through each yoga posture one by one. I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to show you some of the key characteristics of that pose, if I can say it like that, the specific points or features we'll be looking at. If you don't have a manual on you, is that how big it is?
Yeah.
Wow,
I printed it out.
you printed to a page.
Yeah, this is back to that.
Sorry guys, someone printed it out and it's like, I know, I did that. Woo,
I was
okay.
actually very upset because it's not a waste of paper.
But you'll be making a lot of notes, so it's not wasted space. You'll be filling that up
My
quickly.
husband said, I got well.
Yeah, and I can tell you now, I have my 200-hour teacher training manual, and I refer back to it years later. So it's a very good resource for a lifetime of teaching. Yeah.
So we were gonna say the trees should be rather just. Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. Really, I mean, I have it on my tab. I like pen and paper. It's your preference. We won't judge you, I promise. It's fine. I print out my manuals. I like having a hard copy. It's your preference. Okay. 43. My voice is still warming up. Okay, page 43. And we're going to flow through them quite quickly. There's quite a lot of postures. We're going to try and do as many as we can today and tomorrow and repeat them. A lot of them we've broken down already in the classes. Okay. So let's start with, can I ask Veronica if you can see if you can turn your video on? When I demonstrate it, we're all going to come into the pose and I might give additional cues to focus on. I don't know if it'll work. Let's see. Can you hear me there, Veronica? You are on mute. I'm going to ask you to start the video if you want to try it, just so that I can see. So, there you go. Yay. Perfect. Nice, thank you. Oh, I love seeing faces. It makes me so happy. Okay, so I'm going to demo the pose and then you'll just stand back and I'll watch you and then we'll see. Okay, so starting from the beginning, it's a very good place to start. So, Tadasana, mountain pose, okay? Our first standing pose, it's the start of our sun salutations. And in most classes, you will do this one. Most of us know this, okay? So I've given this, you'll see in your manual, you've got the Sanskrit name. We're going to use them, but we're also going to use the English name. So when you're teaching in your classes, you can use the English name. It does help in terms of not a lot of your students will know the Sanskrit name. However, in kind of just honoring the traditional lineage of yoga, it's very nice to also be aware of Sanskrit, what the words mean. So you will hear the Sanskrit names weave its way in. You've also got the list in your overview with the Sanskrit names. It takes time to learn them, okay? What's nice about Sanskrit is that it's broken down. It's kind of, you learn like Urdhva means upward. So you see it in upward dog, you see it in upward mountain pose of sorts. So you start pinpointing the little bits of the word, but we'll also use the English even in your pose analysis when you work with Catherine. She'll give both of them. Okay. And it's nice to know because we sometimes use them interchangeably. If sometimes I say something and you're not sure, let me know, make a note of it. With repetition, it sticks. Okay. So let's start with mountain pose. Tadasana is mountain, and they all have asana, which is seat or posture. So all of them will end in that. I'm just going to give some space so you guys can see. I hope you don't mind saying that you're in the back of the video. It's fine. Okay. So let's look at mountain pose. We know it, but we're going to kind of dive into the little nitty-gritties of it. So traditionally, mountain pose is taught with the toes touching or the feet together. So toes are touching, feet slightly hip width apart. However, some students may feel better with the feet hip width. Okay. So we do have a more traditional alignment that comes from possibly Ashtanga or Iyengar, but also honoring that each body is different. We're going to highlight that a lot. You're going to know it a lot in the class, but so I want you to feel them both. What does it feel like this? What does it feel like this? Most of the time in a class, you'll say, stand at the top of your mat. Students will stand how they stand, okay? But more traditionally, toes touching, slight gap in between the heels, all right? I'll lift my toes up, spread my toes nice and wide, just like we did in all fours. We really like grip down to the fingers. So you'll plant the toes really nice, grounding into the feet, all right? Moving upwards from the feet, okay? Well, let's first chat a little bit more then. With the distribution, sometimes we get a little bit more weight into the feet, in the toes, the left or the right. So it's nice when you get around here just to move around a little bit. Try to find that you've centered your weight between front, back, left, and right. So I'm just standing in a very, right? My legs are nice and strong and engaged. So I've just got my thighs on. They're not relaxed, they're not They're just there, they're away, all right? So what is it that we often, maybe, let's see from you guys, what do we often hear about what we need to do in the pelvis in our standing pose?
Engage.
Okay, engage
Tuck it
the,
in.
we had someone there online?
Tuck it in.
Yeah, so we often hear tuck the tailbone or tuck the pelvis, okay? So this is my normal standing position, I'll show you this now. What happens when I tuck my tailbone? Okay, my natural curve of the spine is like this. When I tuck my tailbone, I'm moving out of my natural curve. I'm almost flattening my lower back. So it's not a natural standing position for me, okay? So what we like to encourage is just stand with your natural arches of your spine, okay? So we're not tucking too far back, too far forward. How people stand, that is their natural way of standing. Let them just stand, okay? So we try to facilitate natural curves of the spine. So we don't cue too much of the pelvis forward or back because there's often people have different standing positions naturally. We'll go around the room now. We'll see some naturally stand with a little bit more of an arch, which means if we pull them out of that, it can be quite a bit of a shift and it can feel a bit odd, right? And our intention here is just a grounding pose. Okay, we don't spend a lot of time in Tadasana, so we don't have to cue too much in it. We generally use it as a means of grounding or flowing. Okay, so we've got natural curves of the spine. Our shoulders are slightly open, so the scapula or your shoulder blades are drawing slightly towards one another, just so that I'm opening up. A nice example is to broaden through the collarbones, and then my arms along the side of the body. Okay, thumbs are pointing out. You guys are going to do a lot of anatomy, but what that means, don't worry if this doesn't stick now, is I'm externally rotating my shoulders. So that just means that in the ball and socket joints, I'm rotating the shoulder outwards, and that naturally opens up the chest, and I have a slight, nice, strong, active pose. Okay? So this is it. My neck is neutral, not looking up, not looking down, just looking ahead. Natural curve of the neck. So it should feel like a really nice standing position, quite natural, but a little bit more engaged than we used to. Okay, let's try that. So come to stand on. Let's start with the toes touching heels slightly hip width apart, not hip width. Heels slightly apart. Okay. Notice what that feels like. If you would like to bring the feet hip width apart, notice what that feels like. We've all got different knees, ankles, hip joints, and so even the different orientation of the feet might feel better for you. So notice which one feels better. You can be between either one. Good. And then find a little bit of a rock side to side, forward and back. And then ground yourself in the center of that point. So I've got an even distribution between both feet. Lift up your toes, spread the toes nice and wide if you can. And then place the toes, curl them back down onto the mat. Cool. Now drawing your awareness up, little engagement into the quads. Nice neutral spine. Notice if you naturally tend to do something, because we've been told to do it for years and years and years. Notice what happens when you slightly relax. Okay? And then turn the thumbs out, little squeezing of the shoulder blades together. Let the arms drop or shoulders drop down. And then remember the fingers, let's not forget about the fingers, have them nice and active. Okay, so they're just away. And then gazing straight in front of you. So if you want to imagine that your chin is natural and level, and feel that that kind of makes a little bit of length on the back of the neck. You might even feel, can I stand up a little bit taller? What does it feel like? Ah, everyone got like so much taller. That's a different movement of the spine, we won't get into it, but we do have the ability to kind of make ourselves feel a little bit taller, like a child trying to measure their height. Okay. Good. Now stay there, reach your arms all the way up. Keep our hands or your hand shoulder width apart, palms facing towards one another. Okay, then look up towards the palms. Okay, active fingers. Nice. And then reach your arms down. Okay, before we move into high mountain, any questions about Tadasana? It's a pretty basic pose in terms of what it's requiring, but see how we work from the ground up, and these certain kind of elements we're going to repeat quite a lot in still standing. Any questions online? Did you have something to say, Veronica? Okay, everyone happy with mountain? Right. How do we feel with the feet? What did you guys feel in terms of what pose which one you normally take, which one feels better for you? Which one do you gravitate towards?
I gravitate toward my toes not together.
Okay, feet hip width apart. Who prefers toes together?
I don't know, I think I've been taught to do it
Exactly.
for so long
Yeah.
that it feels like it feels a bit weird without.
Oh, yeah.
And if I don't think about it, I think I would mostly be like that, but instantly I kind of don't do that.
Yeah. So what they're saying in the studio is that we're told to stand like that, so we're used to it because we've been doing it for so long. But we might feel, oh, my feet does feel, maybe my knees are pushing towards one another. Maybe I need a little bit of space. Remember, we've all got different bones. They will look different. So if there's something that you take away from the 200-hour in a good way is to question everything. What do we hear in the cues and then go, why do I say that? Do these general cues work for everyone? Maybe not, we'll discuss. But essentially, sometimes we have standard cues, but also knowing that each body is different, okay? And this is your opportunity to explore. Okay, when I do Tadasana, I should prefer doing it like this because of this. And then I start to understand that, okay, my students may feel differently too. All right, more traditionally it's like this. Yes, it does need to have the toes together, but it might not work for someone. It's also not the end of the world if their feet are put apart. It's not going to adjust your sequence or your class or the pose too drastically. Okay. In other words,
They also kind of like tend to leave like a very slight bend to the knee. Like I always find that the straight leg kind of tilts back and very uncomfortable with me. I don't know, like on the knee point. So
stand from the side and straighten the legs.
but
Yeah, so we sometimes, I mean, if it naturally feels a soft bend, that's okay. For me, having my knee straight feels fine. But it's a good point to notice, okay, for her, having the legs straight, I mean, has a teacher ever told you to straighten the legs? It's very subtle. You have
yeah, no, like I don't think you can see it, but I know it. I know that when you said straight on my legs, I never do it completely because it hurts my knees.
Yeah, so that my recommendation would be in a class, if it hurts you, don't do it that way. A little soft in the bend is fine, all right? We do have different students who, may have different, even like normal straight legs, and some students may move into like more of a hyperextended knee, which is more than straight. But for them, it feels fine. That's their natural position of their knees. And so for them, it's generally okay to stand with the legs somewhat, we say locked, but just strong, active legs. So what sometimes helps is even if you do that, what does it feel like if you really tighten up the quads? Does it make it better? Does it make it worse? If it doesn't, you move towards your variation of the shape that feels good for your knees, right? Yeah. I know it's kind of just like, yes, we have the traditional alignment, but also for you, that little adjustment is suitable. Okay. For me, I know I prefer to have my leg this way and both are fine. Okay, anything else on mountain? Pretty simple. Good, okay.
Yeah, I noticed one thing. So the more I open my feet, the more I think my knees fall inwards somehow, and my weight is not evenly distributed on the sole of my feet. So I was wondering where would the weight ideally be and on which part of the...
So the same thing, if your feet are hip width apart, I'm still trying to find even between the feet. So sometimes, and it really depends on the way that you walk. We all have different walking patterns. So actually in life, we do have a different weight distribution. Sometimes we might feel we walk more on one leg than the other because we've established in the class we're not symmetrical. We also don't do things evenly between left and right in the day-to-day, right? So if my feet are hip width apart and I find my knees are kind of falling inwards, I mean, it depends how. Maybe I should just see it quickly. If you stand naturally with your feet hip width apart, good.
It's maybe not so much
Yeah.
the issue with the knees. It's more that I feel that my feet are going more as if the weight of my feet is more at the inner sides of my soles and not so much on the outer sides.
So notice what it feels like to slightly roll onto the center of the feet once again. So you'll almost feel that you still have pressure through the outer edges of the feet. It'll feel a bit different, but then you still want to find somewhat an even distribution. So if you feel, okay, with my feet width apart, I'm getting most of my weight in the center, I'm just going to kind of even out the feet a little bit like that. You can't really see it. But if it's like that, I'm just going to put a little bit weight on the outside, arms still straight, okay?
Yeah.
Recommend as a general cue, even weight distribution. Does that feel fine? Do you feel like you can get that kind of, it's a very subtle movement. It's not a lot. Yeah. So I would cue it to just have weight distribution in your feet. As you adjust it, you just want to make sure that you're kind of even, that I'm not really like leaning on one leg, leaning on the other. Okay. Cool. Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thanks.
We actually spent a lot of time on Tadasana, surprisingly. Okay, so we moved into high mountain, which is not Urdhva Tadasana, surprisingly. It's Urdhva Hastasana. So Urdhva is upward, Hasta is hand, asana. So upward, hand, okay? So I'm going to use a couple of examples here because just as we've established that our bones are different, our hip shapes are different, our dimensions are different, the same with our shoulders. So for a lot of different people, this shape looks really, really different and can be a quite nice indicator as to what shoulder mobility is like in the student when we are going to do more challenging poses that require the arms, okay? So we're standing, same thing that's happening here. Arms are looking up. So more traditionally, you have the palms touching, all right? Then the slight gaze upwards, you can totally look forward, all right? And then what do we hear when we take arms up? You got arms together or palms, shoulder width. Okay, all right. So Lily says when she puts her arms up, teachers often say, drop the shoulder, all right? I want you to take your right arm forward and then put your hand on your shoulder blade, okay? Sometimes you might, oh, I've got a cramp. Okay, ooh. You're gonna put your hand on and able to get there, all right? And I want you to feel what happens when I take my arm out. If you can, maybe you just get your fingertips. Lift your arm up. And you feel your shoulder blade moves. Kind of, it's a tricky thing to follow. All right? Turn in like a little train. Maybe you guys at home will be able to feel. I want you guys to just turn facing the partner next to you. You won't be able to see shoulder blades. Amy's going to stand it because Amy's got a top on where I might be able to see it. Maybe that's a good example. Okay? So just face with your back towards the camera, like that. Okay? You can let your hand drop down. All right? So just place your hands both arms along the side of the body. So you can see her shoulder blade is here. When she lifts her arms up, see her shoulder blade is there. You see it move? Sorry, I'm going to mind. Okay, so do you see her shoulder blade moves up? All right? That's what happens. Thank you so much. Good job. Okay? So your shoulder blades are like this. When you lift your arms up, they do that. Okay? You're going to do it with Kathleen anatomy. It's called upward rotation. Don't worry too much about it now. What we want to know is, if I lift my arms up, that's what happens. That's how the shoulder works. That's how the body works. So if I lift my arms up, try and pull them down. Does it feel like it's functional? Does it feel like it's moving? It kind of feels like I'm moving against what my body naturally wants to do. Of course, I'm not scrunching my shoulders up to my neck. That's like getting my upper shoulder muscles, well, my neck muscles engaged there. My shoulder blades are moving up. I'm still kind of a little bit soft there. My arms are active. Okay. So we don't cue to drop the shoulders down. We want the arms up. That's the whole point of the pose. Okay. So generally, we just say reach arms up, look towards the palms if it feels good for the neck. Okay. When we move the arms up, some people will move into like a little bit of a minor little back bend. Okay. That's also fine. Sometimes if our shoulders move up, in order to get them there, we need a little bit of help from the back. Okay. Can I get two people who lift their arms up? Just everyone lift their arms up. I'm just going to select two. Okay. We've actually all got pretty fine shoulders. I'm going to ask Yvette to come here.
I always get told my ears are in my shoulders, so I'm constantly conscious of like putting my neck away from the body.
No, it's all going to look different. So we're going to look from the side. I'm going to just face sideways along the mat. Then we're going to turn around. So you're going to turn like, wait, turn your hip towards facing back. Okay. No, yes, okay. So if you're just looking from the side, if you bring your arms up, you see Yvette's kind of got her arms in line with the shoulders. Okay. Most of us are along there. That's kind of the normal range we'll get the arms up. Some people might be here. This might be their shoulder range, not so much, it's a little bit forward. Okay. So for some students, just know that their arms won't get up there. In order to get my hands up, I maybe need to do a little back. Thanks so much. Most of us actually have in the group, our shoulders are actually fine. I want to see yours, Loretta and Angela. Let's quickly have a look at, and Nigar, maybe just turn sideways. Good. Nice. I can't see your shoulders, Lorato, but it's fine. We'll have a look now. Yeah, I think you're just cutting off in the screen a bit. That looks fine. So also for you see, Nigar, as the arms and shoulders are like mine, slightly a bit forward, okay? Which is completely fine. Nice. Thanks, Veronica. She also brings, Veronica's hands are also quite to the biceps, also quite close to your ears. So just know that this is a range. People will have different arm positions, okay? What sometimes happens, just as we've said, shoulder joints are different. There's a lot of different bones involved there. And so some movements, depending on your shoulder joint, are even a little bit more comfortable than others. So if you bring your arms up in line with the ears, now notice what happens when you bring, well, let's actually do two ways. Sorry, bring your arms to the side. We're going to take our arms forward and up. That's one way to do it. Okay, cool. Bring your arms down. Arms to the side like you would be in Tadasana. Bring your arms around and up. Do they feel the same or different? Different. Which one feels better for you? Around the side. Okay. You like the front? Exactly. You can feel. So in a class, it doesn't really matter. You'll cue for the one that you want to teach. Students will move through that. But just know that it feels different moving forward as it does upward. It also feels nice if you bring upwards and you look up. And then if this feels a little bit niggly, maybe it doesn't feel good in my shoulders, to bring my hands a little bit wider, right? Don't you know it now? It's just called scaption. So it's just moving hands a little bit wider, more into a Y shape. It's a little bit more free in the shoulders. So students who have little niggly shoulders, this is really a nice option, right? You don't have to be here. You can. This is also fine. Once again, when you teach these poses, you're going to teach them with an intention. If you're just teaching a sun salutation, it's often arms up, exhale, fold. Okay. We don't spend a lot of time in Tadasana, but it's nice today. We actually spent a bit of time there, really grounding into the feet, centering into the body. And we use it more as a terms of little resting pose in between the flows. So it can also be used as a nice moment to just pause and check in with the breath. Okay. Any questions about Tadasana and high mountain?
Just regarding the shoulder, does the range of movement in the shoulder change? Or is that the way you want it? I know my shoulders, they're quite, my posture's not the best. So would it get better more doing things, or is it just going to stay there?
I'm going to give you a short answer now because I know you're going to tackle a lot of this in anatomy.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is we're starting with poses, but then you're going to do your anatomy and then you're going to come back to poses.
Okay.
So we can influence our range of motion and flexibility to a certain extent, but bones, we cannot physically change the structure of our bones, right? So they might, depending on you, with certain exercises you may feel, but you will get to a certain point where that's what you get because of the actual structure of your bones, ligaments, tendons, all of that kind of stuff happening inside. Okay. So yes and no. It depends, right? If I had to do like a nice little analysis of your skeleton, maybe, but not like, you know. Most of the time, generally, we don't do a lot, other than yoga, we don't do a lot with shoulders. I mean, dance maybe, but it is quite shoulder focused, a lot of our yoga practice. So we do notice we build a lot of strength, and we also want to work flexibility into the arms, especially when we do things like back bend, or if we want to bring hands behind the back, or depending on the pose you're doing specific poses that will help for that will definitely help us to go towards that pose or that goal. Cool. Nice. Anything else about High Mountain online? That's all good?
Yes, we good. Good.
Nice. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on. Let's just quickly see if there's anything else I want to mention in there. Oh, of course, once again, just a quickly side note, we'll do this quite a bit. You'll have your arms up. You can have hands at heart center. You can do side bends when you're there. We're teaching the poses, but you'll see as we teach, you've got twists. So just know that we'll teach the pose, but there are variations, particularly in vinyasa, where you do kind of offer variations that you can do in poses. But for now, we'll just stick to the high mountain. And as the course goes on, we'll add on.
The wide Hastasana, is that what you said? Some people do that naturally? Is that what?
Some will do it naturally. For some, if they have a little bit of niggles, it might feel better to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you'll see the students, sometimes they'll do this. And that's, they're moving towards their expression of the pose. And so we just know that the shapes do look different in different people. Okay, sweet. On to Utkatasana. Utkata is powerful, fierce pose, also known as chair pose. Okay. So, we've got, once again, a little breakdown of it. And we've also got quite a couple of different ways we can do Utkatasana. Same thing, toes touching, little gap in between the heels, so feet together, or you can do feet wide, okay? For now, I'm going to teach you with the toes touching and a slight gap in between the heels, okay? So I'll move around so that you guys can see it from the side and you can see it. So chair pose, essentially bending the knees, sitting down nice and low, all right? You might even hear in some classes they'll say touch the floor so that they really get you low. And then you extend your arms up, okay? This is my natural way of doing it. My hips are slightly out, all right? I'm kind of like sticking my bum out a bit. And I'm moving into, it's kind of a little bit of a lift into the chest, looking up to the hands, you can look down at the floor, sinking nice and low. The weight is in the heels, okay? My feet are together. If my feet were apart, my legs would just be working a little bit harder because I'm still gonna kind of have to squeeze the legs towards one another, okay? Different variation for different people, the same thing, all right? I've got a couple of different variations that I can do in my chair pose. I can do a normal way, which is my natural curve. We spoke about this before, where I sink down nice and low, my arms are up. You see I have a slight little arch on my back, not a lot, slight one, because I'm sitting my hips back, because I want to sit down low. Okay, so if I'm sitting down low, I need to get my hips back a bit. What do we also hear in this pose? We have the same thing. Tuck the tailbone. What happens when I tuck? Can't really go down as far, but it also takes away that kind of natural arch. I might not feel that I can sit down as low. Okay? So if I want to sit down low, I do need to stick my hips back. If I'm doing it more upright and I have my shoulders over my hips, then I can get a nice little tuck, but I'm doing it more like a straight line. Two different ways to do it, depending on what you want to sequence it for and what's your intention. If I was doing a nice back bending class, maybe even the hands behind the back or arms back, I do want to get the back muscles working quite hard. So it's okay to have that natural arch into the spine. Okay? So I can do it natural. I can do it more in the back bend, my arms up, even as we'll do tomorrow, hands behind the back. Or I can even do it nice and upright. Yeah. This is quite a nice variation if I wanted to go down, because I can lower down into Malasana, similar to what we did today at the end of the class before we moved into butterfly. Okay, let's try Utkatasana. I'll talk you guys through it. Okay, let's do number one. We'll just do it neutral. Notice where you naturally go. Notice where your body goes naturally and how you kind of adjust yourself. Okay, so feet together, with the part if you know that works better in your body. Good. Bend your knees, sink down nice and low, fingers towards the floor. Good. Sink the hips back, arms up in line with the ears. Okay. Now notice what happens when you tuck your tailbone. Can you sink down as low? Fully tuck it, like not just like a little, like really tuck your tailbone. All right? Okay, right? We kind of got that in class. I can't see you guys online. It feels different. What happens when you send your hips back a little bit and let your lower back kind of arch a bit? Not a lot. I'm just letting my hips be natural. Bring your chest up a little bit. Good. Sink down a little bit lower. Sink your weight back into your heels. Good. Straighten your arms. Good. Come out to standing. Okay. Just notice they feel different. All right. Any observances about that pose that you have noticed as yet?
Yeah, I got one question. Does it matter? I always thought your knees had to be in line with your ankles.
For the reason of it, what have you heard?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was safer, but I don't know.
Yeah, right. So I just want to know the intent. So what we hear a lot is that we need to have our knees in line with our toes. From one point of view is that we think it's safe. Okay, it's going to be safe for our knees. All right. But what happens if I go down into a Malasana? My knees are very far past my toes. Okay. So in terms of some of the alignment cues, they are somewhat because we want to make certain shapes. All right, because we know this is the shape that we're making. However, it's not really that if I do bring my knees past my toes, my knees won't explode or something, okay? But it does allow me to go down deeper, all right?
But that's not the aim of the pose, to get
So you
knees.
can cue my knees in with my toes. That's a nice, it might be a nice kind of guide for your students to be like, okay, I can still see my toes. But if you wanted them to sit down really low, their knees might track over their toes, okay? It might happen slightly, but it's a good, in terms of these alignments, we use them because it helps students figure out and move into a certain shape as such, but not at a point where we say it because it's dangerous or it could be injurious. We can't say that without knowing the person and their body and such. But generally, if you're sitting down low, unless I was like, there I see my toes, I've got to push my hips back as well, right? So if I'm sitting back and I'm really leaning forward into my toes like that, you might want to say to them, is your weight back in your heels? Okay, because my knees will, I'm just going to show you guys from the side. I'm sitting down low, okay? If I'm here, you can see that I'm not sinking my weight into my heels.
Yeah.
If I sink my heels back and sit down low, okay, but eventually I'm going to get to the point where I can't lower anymore because of my calves and it feels quite tight. I'm going to lower down and my knees will go past, and that's fine. It is kind of a nice cue in terms of encouraging students to lean the weight back, but once again, it's the intention behind the cue. It's not so much from a safety perspective, it's also from a weight distribution. Does that make sense? Cool, I think there was something online. Okay, let's see what it feels like with a little back bend. Maybe you want to try a different feet placement. You're going to use, this is a great pose in terms of sequencing. It's really nice in transition. It's also got a lot of variations, okay? So you can do a lot of different things here. So take your feet together. Yes.
Like when I do it with my feet apart, like I feel like the knees like really are pressing against each other, like
Yes.
quite hard.
Yeah.
That's like, is that normal? Is that something?
So
Like I don't feel that, like I can get that pressure completely up
Yeah.
and not like that. Like here, I mean, I can if I really focus on it, but it's just the natural way it goes to like my knees pressing quite hard against each other.
yeah, so Lily's saying when she brings her feet together and she bends into the knees, she feels like the knees really push into each other. I get that too. It's not really, it doesn't feel particularly nice for me. So I might take my knees hip width apart. I'm going to work my inner thighs a bit because I'm not going to let my legs do that. I'm going to let them kind of squeeze together. So would that be the normal way you take it, like this?
I just have,
Slight gap.
it's, I don't know, now that because I do it so
naturally.
naturally that now when I think of it, I don't know which way I'm doing it normally.
Yeah.
But
So-
I guess that's how I'm usually, maybe I don't actually focus so much on every sensation in my body every time I
Exactly.
do
We
it.
do
So
things
now that we
naturally.
do it now, I'm
Yeah.
just kind of destroying things.
Sometimes you'll go into chair and then do this and then go, no, I don't know. So you explore, play, feel what it's like, all right? For you, I would say if you're going to shout at your feet a little bit wider, notice what that feels like. Does it feel like maybe that pressure of the knees feels a bit better for you? Then that variation is quite nice. Even for students who have big quad muscles, like let's say they're really, really strong legs, a little bit wider might also feel comfortable in terms of feet together, like muscle gets in the way, right? So in terms of that perspective, feet a little bit wider also feels fine. I like doing chair like this too. Depends on like this, also depends on what you're cueing it for. You'll see tomorrow, without preempting, we'll do a transition here where we'll step back. And so I do want my feet together so that when I step back, I'm in a lunge. Where if I'm wide and I step back, my feet are wider, but I can still move. All right, there's not rigidity in it. You can maneuver within the poses, especially because everyone in the class may be in a different stance, and everyone's kind of adjusting. You guys saw in your class today when you step, you are kind of figuring your way into it. So I would say try it with the feet, see how that works. If it feels good, cool. Nice. Okay. All right, so let's quickly do standing. Let's do a little bit more into a back bend. So we'll flow through all three, just kind of the same and just feel the difference. All right. So sink down nice and low, bend into the knees, sweep your arms up. Okay. Sink your weight into your heels. Right, now tuck your tailbone. We all came up a little bit. It's fine. Okay, now bring your upper body upright. Now more upward, and I can sink down nice and low. Check what happened with your knees. Okay, I moved upright. My knees will go slightly forward. If they feel fine, it's fine. Okay, let's sink down nice and low, really. Move into a little bit of a back bend. So sink down nice and low. Maybe even just sweep your arms back because it might feel a bit nicer. Okay, a little bit more back bendy. Can grab opposite, you can grab your palms. Do this tomorrow. Slowly release. Good. Now, bend your knees a lot. Come down into a little bit of a squat. Okay. So a nice transition if the feet are together to lower down here into seated. Okay. Just take a seat. Right. Any notes online about Utkatasana? Is that clear? Chair pose, does that feel fine? Same thing with the arms. As we build on the poses, the same kind of cues will come up. Same thing with the shoulders. Arms can be up. Arms can be slightly wider into a Y shape. Arms can be at heart center. Okay, we did this quite a bit this morning in terms of balancing. Okay, also when we move into twists, which we'll do later. Okay, so you see that picture there, he's doing more of an upright version. All right, so you got your natural curves one, tuck tailbone one, and then your back bend one. Yes.
How low can we do that? How low is low?
How low is low?
What is the
I think that it would depend on your body in terms of like how, I mean, it's a lot of work for your quad. So this is a predominantly quad working pose. So Laura, who is our teacher on intensity, she practiced a lot of Iyengar, okay, which is quite a strict alignment type style with a lot of prop usage. Their cue was to sit down as low as what you touch the floor, hips don't move, arms up. Okay, same way back. All right. For some, you might be here. I would just encourage the students to sit low. All right. So I'm not here. All right. But some students, as they go down, something else might limit them. Like maybe they've got tight ankles, or maybe their knees, or maybe you will just encourage them to sink down low as long as they can. Students will have a magical way of stopping when you reach where you want to go. Okay. But you can also tell students will sometimes just do this. And then you're like, no, sink down. Sit down really low, and then your arms up. Got to feel those legs, right? That's what you're working for, the sensation, also working into the legs. So while you're practicing, see what it feels like. I mean, I'm really sorry if you have really long legs, because then you're like, yeah. But, so that's also one thing to take, but generally, I mean, our body's all proportional, so it's fine. But I would just encourage them to sit down really as low, sink their hips back. See what it's like. Yes.
Arms behind like that, would you only do that if you were sort of back bending?
Yeah, so as we move through the poses, you'll start to see that we can use different variations in preparation for different sequences. So if I'm doing a back bend class, do the back bend chair pose, all right? If I was doing a forward bend class, where my focus is on the legs, I might just do a regular your natural curves one, because I'm just trying to get a little bit of waking up in those quads. Okay, so you'll start to see when you put your sequences, don't worry, it comes with time. You'll start to feel, even today, we did arms forward, we did arms back, we did arms here. What is my intention? What do I want to use it for? And how can I use it in a way that makes sense for the pose I'm teaching? Okay. Happy with chair pose? Not a lot of people like it. It's a nice pose. Who likes chair pose? I like it. It's kind of nice. No, I'm not a few hands.
I like it.
I mean, it's a really nice straight pose, right? But maybe it feels uncomfortable because we've been told to do things that feel against what our body's doing. So next time we do chair, play and explore it. All right. And then notice once again it comes down to what are the cues we hear, why. Okay, so for me, how am I going to teach that? Understanding all my students, or as best I can, understanding that we all have different bodies, different working with. Cool. Wonderful. Okay. So, good. Just checking out here. Okay. Go in there. Okay, page 45. Are we there? I'm going to skip 45 for a second. I'm going to come back to that after we've done our warriors, because it's nice to just transition between them. Let's go on to page 46. Virabhadrasana 1. Virabhadrasana, full word is warrior. So we know we've got Virabhadrasana 1, 2, and 3. Warrior 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we're going to look at warrior 1 and crescent lunge together. Okay, we're going to chat and explore them a bit. We're going to get quite a bit into anatomy here. And so as we continue to do the class, when you go to Catherine's videos, all the little pieces of the puzzle will start coming together. Okay, so if you recall this morning, we did a high crescent lunge when we're on the ball of the back foot. So let's quickly tackle lunge. I'm going to explain it, go through it, and then we'll do warrior 1. Okay, we know this pose, we do it a lot. We do this pose a lot in yoga. Okay, so we've got lunge. So I feel like I can't explain lunge without quickly doing downward dog. Okay, so let's just go plank, downward dog, we're going to tackle it back later. So we said today, when you're on all fours, I'm stepping my one toe back and the other, I'm in a plank pose. Okay, I'm pushing through my hands, my shoulders over my wrists. Okay, but a little bit of engagement there just by dropping my hips in line with my shoulders, and then without moving my hands and my feet, I'm going to lift my hips up into a downward facing dog. I'm going to move my feet a bit wider. Okay, maybe I said lift your hips up really high, find a nice kind of V shape. And for some of us, this may have felt a little bit longer than what we used to. We tend to get our heels down. We'll chat about that. The intention is not so much the heels down. Different intention when we dive into downward dog quite a bit. But the reason we do that in terms of also transitioning is that if we work as your plank, downward dog, as a measure of length, that carries over the same into our lunge. So it means that the distance or the length of your pose is the same. So stepping forward, I'm already set up for my lunge. Okay, so I'm not having to fiddle my feet too much in terms of that. So I'll show you. Okay, I'm in my plank. I've pushed back into a downward facing dog. Okay, now I'm going to keep my left foot where it is. I'm not going to go through the three-legged dog and all of that stuff. I'm going to step my right foot forward. Okay, so I've stepped my foot in between my hands. We said for some of us, moving that right hand out the way helps a lot, maybe even helping that foot.
You're stepping on the side, not in the middle of your head.
It is a bit more towards the right side.
Okay.
If you have your feet in line like that, I'm kind of like, I feel a little bit wobbly. It's like walking on a tightrope. Okay, so because you're downward facing dog, your feet are hip width apart. I step my right foot in between the hands, it's a bit more to the right side, so I've still got hip width distance between my feet here. Okay, we're going to explore that a bit later. What that does, it just kind of increases my base of support. So with my feet on the floor, I don't feel wobbly. If I make my feet wider, I've got more base of support. Okay, more space that I'm occupying. So my mat, if you guys want to come and have a look here, it's nice to see I've got a mat with a line, okay? So you guys can't see on the thing, but I've got a line down the center of my mat. I've also got 2 lines in the front, 2 lines in the back. And I'm really popular now because I think they help us like checking, but also your body knows inherently without the lines, okay? So my feet are hip width apart. I've set my right foot kind of to the center, but it's not in the middle of my chest. It's a little bit to the right side. Okay, because when I drop down, I want to be here. I'm not here. Then my knees are both moving inwards on my hips distance. Okay, so what we did was we stepped here. We dropped our back knee down. This is what we call low lunge. Okay, right knee is over the ankle. Okay, my fingertips on the floor. My back knee's down. So this is a variation we often do before lunge. Foot can be relaxed. It depends. If I was going to rise up from here to lunge, I want my toes tucked. But if I was going to spend some time here, relax.
For example, when we move from low lunge to half split,
Yeah, the back.
the foot stays in the back or is it on your toes?
So, either, really.
Because you don't really need to have it raised.
No, you don't need to.
But
I find-
does that make a difference?
in terms of, it depends. You can cue either. Either of them are fine. If I was going to spend quite a bit of time here, relax your back foot. It's fine. Don't have to tuck the toes. If I'm doing this, it's fine. But if I wanted to step up again, I'm going to have to tuck my toes in order to move.
Yeah.
So you can keep it tucked the whole time. You can relax the back foot. Depends where you're going, where you're coming from. Students, I didn't cue it, and you guys all did your own thing, and you figured it out anyway. So because in our class, especially when we're flowing, we don't really spend a lot of time talking about every little nitty-gritty thing. Okay, we're talking about it now because we want another pose. But in the class, you'll just say tuck your back toes, stepped back down.
Just because I mean, when you're a beginner, so you tend to take all your cues a lot from the
Yes.
people that are around you, and even when people are doing different things, you're not always sure.
I know.
Like from one class to another, from one teacher to another. So I know I've seen it both all the time. So I was wondering if there was one.
Yes, I think in terms of I would say when I was doing a line, that is fine. That is fine. Yeah. Yeah. If I was going to move back, if I was going to move here into whatever and then step, I'd rather just keep it tucked. But your students, if they did untuck it naturally, they'll tuck again. So let's quickly just, because from our low lunge, we'll move into a high lunge. Okay, I've got my back toes because I know I'm going to lift that back knee up. So knee in line with ankle. Okay, I'm lifting my back heel up, my back knee up. And then what happens when I want to rise up, this is just the transition we did today, you kind of need to imagine you squeezing your inner thighs. That just kind of creates a little bit of strength so you can rise up. So high lunge, knees over my ankle. Your stance might feel a bit wide enough because my back foot hasn't moved from where I was before, okay? So my back leg is all the way back behind me, all right? This back leg is extension, this front hip is bent, okay, inflection. Nice bend into that knee. Now I want to lunge kind of nice and low. It's going to make you stretch here a little bit more. Okay. My hips are facing forward, okay? This hip, if I had two like little spotlights, they're facing there. Okay, we can agree with that, right? Arms are extending in line with my hips, okay? This pose is a little bit of a back bend, okay? Because my back leg is going back behind me, you can see there's a little arch into my spine. You can see it in the girl in the pink pants. Okay? You can see it, right? Big stretch on the back leg. Now watch what happens if I have lunge, both hips are pointing forward. The difference between high lunge and warrior one is the back heel. Okay. Watch what happens to my back hip when I drop my heel down. Okay? Yeah, it opened. Okay. Right, it open out to the side. Still on a back knee bend, arms are up. All right. What is a cue we often hear in Warrior One? So we're like going through all of them today. Okay. What do we often hear in Warrior One? Have you done it? Okay. Shoulders. Yeah. So we got shoulders up. Yeah. What do we hear about the hips? Okay. Square your hips. Can I truly square them as much as this? Yeah, so our hips, you guys are seeing anatomy, our hips move in different ranges, okay? We can have our hip bent, we can have it extended, so flexion, extension. They can also rotate inwards and outwards. They can move out to the side. You're going to go through each one of those movements. What I just want to highlight here, both of my hips are kind of moving forward along with my mat. As soon as I rotate that back hip out, which I'm doing because I'm turning my toes out and dropping my heel, my hip has rotated, okay? So I cannot square it fully, really. I mean, maybe I can have an intention and I'm still kind of diagonal, right? In order to fully square, I need to lift that back heel up, okay? So squaring the hips is not really an appropriate cue in terms of understanding the anatomy that's happening in the hips, okay? So when I drop that back heel down, I can still kind of have my body forward, right? If I want to have that knee bent in that direction, if I start twisting, if my foot is grounded, if I've got roots in there and I'm twisting from here, just like I said, something's going to happen in my knee, right? I'm kind of getting some like torsion, like twisting there. That may feel a little bit niggly. You guys felt this before? Yeah. Okay, we're going to move through it, all right? And then let's experiment and see what it's like. Okay, downward dogs. full length, okay? So come, just quickly, even if you're in a down dog, roll forward into a plank. Check your shoulders over your hips. Good. Sherry, lift your hips. Yeah, a little bit less in between. Yeah, there. Okay. Now keep your hands and feet. Push up, down a dog. Don't move your hands over your feet. Okay. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, do it. Really get your hips high. Nice. Okay. Step your right foot in between your hands. Right foot next to the right hand. Okay. You need a little bit of help to get to that's fine. Now just check your knees over your ankle. Kind of the alignment. Good. All right. Squeeze the legs together, rise up, high lunge. We've done this today. We know. Okay. Now keep a nice bend into the knee. Bring your shoulders slightly back over your hips. So it's going to be a little bit back bendy. Arms up. You can bring them a little bit wider. That feels better. Okay. Good. Now sink a little bit lower so you can get your thigh parallel to the mat. It's a big lunge. Ah, nice. Does it feel like it's working? Lift up a little bit. Yes. Good. Okay. Now drop your back heel down. Good. Okay. Oh, sorry, your back heel. So keep your knee up. Drop your back heel. Feel what happens in your hips. Keep that bend into your right knee. Now, without changing what we think we've been told in the hips, do what your hip naturally does. It naturally opens up, okay? Now, bring your arms in line with your shoulders. See where you're pointing. Okay? And then check this knee, that this knee hasn't come with you. Because if you try to like open up, you still want to keep the integrity of that right knee of the ankle.
Can you just come up a little bit in the, like, that's a smooth
yes,
side,
but exactly. So if you come up a little bit, feels a bit different, right? But still, I want to keep warrior one is bent knee. Okay, my arms go about there. Okay, let's lift that back heel up, just drop the knee down, just come back down. We're going to do it on the other side. Okay? Did you feel the difference in that? Warrior one as a pose is fine. Warrior one is fine, just not squaring the hips in warrior one. Not an appropriate cue. But you can do warrior one depending on your sequence. All right, depending what you want it for. But they know that students may be facing, like in your manual here, they call it warrior 1.5. It's not warrior one, okay? Because warrior one in traditional was there. It's here on my knee check. Warrior 2 is here. I'm kind of a warrior 1.5. Okay, but don't worry too much about that. That's just a joke. You won't say come to warrior 1.5. Your students are going to go, what are you talking about? Okay, so just know, and as we go through the class, we're going to do this again in other poses later. Just know that some poses and some things we say may not quite translate when we begin to understand anatomy. Let's do it on the other leg. Okay?
Can I ask you something quick?
Yes.
Notice that from high lunge into the warrior one, I have to shorten the stance, so myself not able to do that.
Yes. So
I
want to say-
I've been given that cue as well. Teachers like bring your foot or
Yes. So you will hear different things in different studios, also from different lineages. If you look at your Ashtanga, your Iyengas, a lot of the time the stance is a lot wider than what we practice. It's also, if I bring my feet wider and I ground my heel, it's a lot easier for me to kind of move a little bit more towards the front of my mat. My feet are about this. So you might hear teachers say, bring your legs wider, make your stance shorter to get that back heel down. That's also going to do a little bit with ankle flexibility. You know, what's happening in this Achilles tendon? Can I ground the heel? You know, what's happening with balance? Sometimes balance is if I bring my feet wider. So those are modifications teachers give. However, if we look at just lifting up the back heel, I'm still in quite a strong pose and an extension here, but I haven't like compromised too much. Remember, if you're sequencing, you're going to have to move back again.
It's not harder on the knee, I find.
Yes, so it does take a little, by shortening the stance, it does take a little bit of load off because you're making your base support shorter, you're not bending into the knee as much.
Terrible knee, especially on this side.
Yeah.
Like I usually don't feel it so much wide one, but with that kind of expense.
Yes, it is wide. So that's the thing is that you'll have to feel, okay, does transitioning to high lunge feel a little bit better for my knees? Does it feel better? If you do high lunge instead of a warrior one?
Yeah, it's the high lunge is fine. I think it's all.
Yeah.
It's because I've never practiced the warrior one with such a wide step.
Is it your back knee or your front knee?
It goes front in the front.
Yeah.
When I do that.
So we are going to be practicing with longer stances. So with longer, you might feel it like kind of manifests in the body a little bit differently. Maybe it's a little bit more loading in the knees. Sometimes it depends. If it's something you're like, whoa, I'm going to step back a bit, I'm going to shorten my stance slightly, maybe I'll move out of the bend of the knee just to release it a bit. You may also notice practicing in this way, it kind of adapts in strength. See, I can't tell that because I don't know what it feels like in her body, but you can do.
I feel like it's like I'm because I've been doing this for many years, so I'm very aware of when it's a pain that is there or when it's a pain that's
exactly.
tomorrow. You know?
Yes,
So.
for sure. Yeah. But you once again, this is now the full expression with, I mean, we're still going for that kind of like that shape of knee over ankle, but I might feel when I do my body, I need to adjust it like that. That's fine. You're kind of working it in your body. Don't try it too much. Try a little bit, and you might be able to work back. You might have to stay somewhere.
Just not staying for too long. Like,
yeah.
To kind of get used to
and see what.
And then
because I know you and Francesca, you guys are quite flexible, right? Do you feel they're quite flexible? You look quite flexible. So sometimes, not really in the back, okay, maybe some days out, we're all flexible. But sometimes we may see students who kind of, like I even told Francesca now to come up a bit. So kind of more flexy students, it feels, I'm not flexy, so I wish I could demonstrate it. But I might be like really quite low into the lunge. And for some students, they actually need to push and lift. Find your strength in the pose, squeeze your legs together, and find a good indicator is to have that knee kind of like a 90 degrees. I've still got a nice bit of my knee, strong back leg, and then arms up. Okay. So students who really sink down low might need to lift a bit. Okay. So what does it feel like when you kind of squeeze your inner thighs together and find that lift? Does that provide you with a little bit more stability? Let's try the other side and feel. Okay. So.
Can I just quickly ask? I'm sorry. This goes back to what I asked before.
Oh, sorry.
So if I don't shorten the stance, I can't have my front leg 90 degrees. There's no way because it was just wants to strengthen it. So is that a bad thing to then go on from high lunge transitioning into warrior one, shorten the stance to be able to actually go into warrior one? Because I can either have the front leg 90 degrees or I can have the foot actually touching.
Yeah. You kind of have one or the other. Yes,
I agree.
So what Ella's saying is that, okay, cool, if she's moving now and she needs to shorten the start in order to get the back heel down, okay, does she rather shorten the stance or does she stay in a high lunge?
Yeah.
It would depend on what you're sequencing for and what was the intention, okay? It's not often, or at least we do get it in classes, but often when I teach, I found that I either use high lunge throughout or I use warrior one throughout. Okay, so it's not very often in this class that we'll do this kind of transition. It might be a little bit different. So the reason I like high lunge and that's why we did it in today's class is because it kind of just eliminates all that little T's and C's that come with warrior one. It's also very easy to transition into it. And I know for the pose I was doing where I was facing forward, warrior three, I want to do a pose that faces forward, okay? Because it was in preparation for my pose. So I would say it depends on your sequence. In this one, because we're flowing, if we were doing high lunge to pyramid, you don't want to do, you know what I mean? It's like kind of a little bit, it's possible, it's not wrong. It's a little bit more adjusty. So I would say maybe keep the back heel up, because why do we want to do, what is our intention behind dropping the back heel? Maybe it's just a transition, maybe it's because but generally the poses offer something similar in terms of strengthening the front leg, stretching out the front of the back hip. So in terms of that heel up or heel down, I would almost say it's not too important in terms of which one, but I often find I lean towards high lunge because it's a little bit more usable in terms of transitioning and things like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. But if I was, which we're going to do tomorrow, spanner in the works, sorry. If I was in a high lunge and I was going into a humble warrior, which we'll do tomorrow, you spin your back heel down. We're going to fold forward like that. You might adjust slightly, but you might also, if the back heel was up, I wouldn't stop the student because I would know that they were obviously doing it for a reason, you know? So you would try tomorrow. Let's actually retouch, remind me to retouch it tomorrow once we've done the back heel. See what it feels like in that transition when we move into that. We'll explore. We've got 6 weeks. But it really, it's one of those questions that it does depend on the flow in the class and how does it transition between. You guys will be making your sequences, so even when you do your self-practice, you'll be able to create sequences with that in mind for yourself. And see what works better. Do I like just having a heel up? Do I like practicing warrior? Okay. But it is, yeah, today we did that one because it was quite a nice option for it. Okay, so we're going to do our left side. Okay. All right. So downward facing dog. Check that you haven't moved your feet. Good. Step your left foot next to your left hand. Now, left knee is over the ankle, above the ankle. Squeeze the heels together. So you can step your left foot forward. There you go, yeah. Good. Rise up into a high crescent lunge. Nice, okay. Shoulders come slightly back. Over your head.
Wait,
How does that feel?
Maybe just to say that, is that too low?
Yes.
Because
Come up a little bit.
that's sort of better underneath.
Come there. How does that feel?
I can feel the strength from the knee.
Okay. So she was a little bit low into the lunge. Good. Okay. Drop your half back heel. Feel what it feels. Keep your bend into your front knee. Some of us kind of move quite open into like a warrior too. Warrior one's foot's like kind of 45, 60. So it's not quite parallel with the edge of the mat. It's slightly in. Okay. Good. Nice. Now spin back up into a warrior high crescent lunge. So lift your back heel up. Okay. Now check that your front thigh parallel. Good. I know it feels long and it feels different. Okay. Now imagine the sides of the body. I want you to kind of feel this lengthening that someone's lifting you up. Okay. So my legs are grounded, but I'm lengthening to the sides of the body. And then maybe look up towards your hands and feel okay for the neck. Good. Sink a little bit deeper, Cheryl, if you can. Nice. Okay, hands down, downward facing dog. Okay, so for most of us, we can sink a little bit deeper into that front leg. It may not feel like it now, but for our tendency, when we often do this pose, is for us, and we're gonna, I want to say it's like practice in front of a mirror, not a lot of us have. You guys at home are lucky because you can watch yourself on the screen, but sometimes practicing in front of, not so much a mirror, but also like a Zoom, super helpful in terms of seeing, okay, it feels like my quad is parallel. Is it? You can tell me, is it parallel? Tell me when it's parallel.
There.
Okay, good. So I would have a mirror there. I know, okay, cool. When I start feeling my back leg going, hey, you got it, then I know. But it's really strong. This leg is holding on for life. Okay. It's a strong punchy pose. All right, but it helped today when we move between that and kind of a long pyramid variation, which was really helpful. Is Rini okay? Okay, good. So when, especially in these little sections here where we're hopping in and out of poses, I know the body's warm from this morning, but just take it easy. I know I'm pushing you guys into like in that knee, but just know that we're also just working through there. Okay. So
Can I ask something? Is the second time I was not low? I was okay.
Yours was fine, yeah.
Was not low.
No, I looked again. When you lift it up a little bit, that's fine. So what Lily was saying is, she said, remember she said she had some like knee niggle, and then when she moved her thigh parallel, it was fine, right?
No, it's the opposite.
Maybe you can come show on my mat if you don't mind.
I'm more comfortable going very low than.
Oh, it's more comfortable going very low,
Yeah.
okay?
Like,
Because you can see she can sink quite low into the hips, right?
like this is more comfortable to me than this.
Well, yeah, my answer for you is like, is it more like straight or does it feel a bit niggy in the knee?
It's that part there is like burning, which I'm not used to. When I'm here, I can
See,
it
that's quite
forever.
low. That's quite low. So it's like, imagine squeezing like your thighs towards one another because you've also got to find your strength in the pose, right? Try it out for the next time because it's also now you're doing a completely different thing than what you've been doing for years.
Yeah,
So your body's like,
exactly.
whoa, what's cracking? But most of the time, in terms of like a lunge like that, which is sinking quite low, which is like you want to find your strength in it. So pushing into the heels, almost imagine that you're trying to teach a little youth this analogy. It's really helpful. I say sometimes squeezing the inner thighs together, which people don't understand because my front leg's here and my back leg's there. How am I squeezing them together? So what teachers will sometimes say is, imagine you're trying to shrivel up the mat in between. So all I'm doing is, can you even see it? It's like, all I'm doing is imagine I'm squeezing together, and that's engaging my inner thighs. It's really suctioning everything to the middle, and I'm recruiting a little bit more stability, a little bit more strength in it. And sometimes it feels...
I think I just got used to relying on my flexibility instead of
Yes.
actually getting the strength out of it.
Yeah.
That's
So
really good to
in
know.
yoga, you know, yoga is like a lot of strengthening, a lot of stretching, a lot of flexibility. So a lot of flexible people do come to yoga. And so as much as we might be working with students who have a little bit more limited range of motion, we spoke about maybe shoulders going here, up there, whatever range they're on, we've also got students who are more on the flexible side and need to come up. Okay. And as we move through the course, you'll slowly start to observe, okay, what can they do? It takes a lot of observation and time and practice, okay, to kind of find that eye. All right, any questions about the high lunge and warrior one? We're going to recap this a bit, but we do know we've got the two options. Both are fine, depending on your sequence. We just know, once again, to question the cues with here, whether that applies anatomically and whether it applies to all bodies. With that being said, it's lunchtime. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. You guys online, any other questions?